All right, homies, this is video 2 on my getting out of depression talk. I'm at the Alice Springs pool. And before I get into the actual actions of what I do to get out of depression, I want to first work on the mindset, because when you're feeling depressed, the last fucking thing you want to do is go do some work on yourself. All you want to do is sleep and hide. And so before you're going to take any action and get a bit uncomfortable, you're going to have to change the mindset that you're in. And so for me, it takes me about a month of feeling shit until I say, fuck this, I'm over it. And that's because for me, living passionately is I read books every day. All I do is personal development study, basically, constantly just to live passionately. And so when I'm feeling numb and not doing anything, that's when I feel at my worst. But still, it takes me about a month to get to the point of saying, fuck this, I'm going to make a big change. So there's a few things here. If you are going through depression as a bloke and you are not actively seeking help, let me explain to you that society's made you its bitch, because the quest for money and working long hours and all these things has overtaken the desire to feel good, and especially in Australian culture, that this feeling of toughness is the society's feeling of toughness has overtaken that too. So if you are actively putting society's rules or what's societal norms rather in front of you feeling good, and that has to change. You first of all gonna have your intention that I want to fucking feel good. That should be your first intention always. I want to feel good, rather than actively. What's happening is generally you'd rather feel shit than have the discomfort of speaking to people, mates, family, or even just a professional or doing work that you're going through a shit time, and that needs to change first of all. So as I always say, the pain level has to get high enough first to overtake the fear of discomfort. So that's point number one. And now I see depression as a guidance. It's guiding me it's telling me that I'm unaligned. So I'm going to take you through how I've gotten to that point. First of all, I sort of self-diagnosed myself as manic depressant because I used to have days or literally hours where I could be at the very high, very clear in my mind. And in my mind, what happens is when I can see my future, I can see clear steps of how I'm going to get to a point of how I'll simply do this and this and this. I'll go through these challenges. When I can see my future, I feel really good, generally. When I'm feeling depressed or in a low state, I actually cannot create a future in my mind. I cannot see a future. And in a single hour, I can go from a really high to really low. So I started to realize that something was happening inside me. So I had I've been lucky to have that, because I could see I could have a high and a low in the same hour or day. So I knew that there was something changing inside me to change that. And the problem is that some people never get those highs. They're only feeling the lows. They might think that is the normal. So number two, I went to my first counselling session, as in I was getting counselled in depression by a guy called Merv Edmonds, if you want to look him up. He specialised in a thing called the Human Givens Theory, which specialises in anxiety and depression. And I later studied that modality. In that session, after crying my eyes out and stuff, he said to me the words I really didn't want to hear, which is, "You're not depressed. You're in one of those states, normal states of up and down, maybe lower than normal, but it's not depression." There's a few reasons that is. If you label, now let me first of all, that was very powerful for me, because inside my mind I said, "Oh fuck," I actually wanted him to say you're depressed, so I had something to fall back on, so I had an excuse for feeling bad. And so for him to say that to me, unconsciously I sort of knew that I was going through ups and downs, and that meant that I had to take responsibility to change. Okay, so I remember thinking that very clearly in my mind when he said it to me. So I went into studying this modality. The Human Givens Theory works on the fact that depression comes from stress, in fact, and stress comes from not having your human givens filled. I've changed it a little bit in my own system. Stress comes from pushing emotions down without allowing them out. Now this all sounds a bit woo-woo, so I won't get into that part right now. But you'll find that very stressed people actually very depressed people or depressed and anxiety, stress goes to one or the other, or both, are very highly stressed. And we can go into the research on that and their sleep patterns and how they dream very actively because their body's trying to work out stress. That will be another video. So that first changed me. That opened something up in my mind. Number two, so I guess my point number three. Number three is that I've been along to personal development courses, NLP in particular, and I realised in NLP training that you can change your state in a second. You have the ability to choose how you want to feel very, very quickly once you know the tools. Interestingly, after learning this, the next thing I learned was that despite knowing this, I didn't, even though I knew all the skills, I didn't do it. I could be going into a shit place and I still didn't change my state. Tony Robbins talks about a lot about this, NLP training. If you go to any one of these trainings, they'll teach you very quickly about anchoring your states. But the interesting thing is we don't want to, and this is probably the most important part of this video. Being the victim feels good sometimes, almost all the time actually. It feels comfortable. So I've become very fascinated by myself and my clients and people around me's ability to stay in that state, which is it takes a lot of energy to get out of the state. And so I know all the skills. I talk about it. I teach people it, but sometimes I don't use it. And so the victim state, which I really hate myself, but I still do it, is sometimes enjoying feeling bad, enjoying the poor me, even though I'm not actively going out and saying poor me to people to get their attention. Inside my own brain, I'm still doing like a self-victim talk. That's very important to realize that part of yourself, that sometimes I can't say about you, sometimes I actively stay in the state of being a victim and don't get out of it. And the last point is you're not going to solve depression or any big problem in your life staying in your comfort zone. So the comfort zone, right, for the average dude who's going through depression is I'm going to drink more, I'll party more maybe, drugs, some sort of addiction, porn, food, whatever your addiction is, that's what you go towards. That is not how you're going to solve depression. You won't solve depression. You're going into your comfort zone to feel comfortable, to see if that'll make you feel better. You're gonna find the answers getting out of your comfort zone, getting uncomfortable. And in the next video, I'm going to show you what I do personally to do that. But as I say, when you're feeling shit and feeling down and feeling tired and numb, the last thing you want to do is get uncomfortable as well as all that. So you have to change those mindsets first to say, most importantly, fuck this, I want to feel good. That has to be the first intention. And with that intention, you'll decide, okay, I'm ready to go to get uncomfortable because that feeling good is worth that.